NFC East, can't believe I'm doing it. But I'm buying into the media hype. I am following a lot of people on the hype that they are putting on this team, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. Because when push comes to shove, for how often that they have fallen flat in the big moment, how last year I really thought their roster was one of the most talented rosters in all the NFL. And what happened? They went 8-8, lost out to an Eagles team that had a college quarterback catching passes to them late in the year, calling fans from the stands similar to Vince Papale from Invincible because they were so banged up with wide receivers. They still won the division, and the Cowboys still fell flat on their face. But to be honest, it's too hard to look past their talent. Eventually, you have to just dumb your way into winning games and winning the division. They had a great offense last year. Second most efficient offense in DVOA, which measures efficiency. So second most efficient offense in all the NFL. They improved that. You get a great wide receiver in CeeDee Lamb. You get rid of Jason Witten, addition by subtraction. So this offense is going to score, and they're going to score a lot. The offensive line is returning. A great offensive line. And again, talking about continuity, you have a lot of that outside of the center position returning. And to be honest, I like Mike McCarthy. He seems rejuvenated. I think he's learned from his mistakes in Green Bay. Hopefully he's a little more aggressive than he was with Aaron Rodgers. And speaking of aggressiveness, that's what he's going to have to be. Because that's what Jason Garrett was not. Talk about he was too passive. Didn't let the offense go. And I think you could tell he got nervous in the big moment, and that reflected in the way his teams played. Last year, the Cowboys looked like the best team in the world when they played the Redskins, or Washington, when they played Washington, when they played the Dolphins, when they played the Giants. They looked invincible. They looked like one of the best teams we've ever seen in the NFL. When they play the Patriots, when they play the Eagles, when they play anyone with a winning record, they shrivel up in the big moment. They play scared. They look intimidated. I think it's a direct reflection on the way the head coach carries his team, carries his attitude. I think Mike McCarthy will improve that. So that's the biggest addition this offseason. A new head coach, let the offense go a little bit, be more aggressive, and the Cowboys will win the NFC East. The NFC North, I'm really, really liking this Minnesota Vikings team more and more as the season approaches. I really like their roster coming into this year. I love the Yannick Ngakoue pair. Because now you really, especially on the defensive side, what you do is you have great tandems on all three levels. You have Yannick Ngakoue pairing with Danielle Hunter, two great edge rushers, getting pressure on the quarterback. You have Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks, two great linebackers in the second level. And back there in the secondary, Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris, two great safeties. So you have talent on all three levels of the defense. Mike Zimmer's a great defensive coach. Even though they lost Stephon Diggs this offseason, I think Justin Jefferson can step in, play well, and more importantly, he can cover the middle of the field. You let Adam Thielen now take over to Stephon Diggs' role. Let him go deep. Let him make some explosive plays. So I'm a big fan of what the Vikings are doing. Kirk Cousins, he is what he is. We know what he is at this point. He's a good enough quarterback to win the division in the regular season. I'm interested to see now that he finally got through in the playoffs, right? He had that pretty good game down in New Orleans, had that great drive in overtime to win them the game. We know what Kirk Cousins is in the big moment, and that's not a lot. So I'm curious now to see, obviously they got their doors blown off the next week, but the 49ers are just such a better team. Does he gain more confidence that is Kirk Cousins? Finally kind of breaking the ceiling a little bit. Rewriting that script that we've written about him, where we write him off in the big game. So I'm interested to see if Kirk Cousins can bring that confidence with him and play even better, be more aggressive. And when they actually play good teams, when they need him to play well in order to win, I wonder if he can do it. I hope so. So I'm thinking Kirk Cousins is going to step up a little bit more than normal. This Vikings offense will be good. The defense will be really good. And you look at the rest of the division. The Packers, to me, are going to really regress. And they were one of it's crazy to say. They were one of the worst 13-3 teams I think we've ever seen. No one was really intimidated by the Packers. No one was even really buying into the Packers last year. Even as they make their way to the NFC title game. No one was really giving them a chance. No one was really impressed or blown away by what they've done in Green Bay. So I think that because they had a lot of luck go on their side, they won a lot of close games. Those things tend to even out. You win a lot of close games. You have a lot of things break your way one year. For the most part, usually it evens out the next year. I think that's going to happen. I think reality is going to hit the Packers hard. They did nothing to improve their team. They had holes at receiver behind Devonta Adams. They have really no one. They didn't address that. Instead, they added a running back and drafted a quarterback with their first 2 picks. So they already have one eye in the rebuild. They're almost similar situation as the Chargers. They're good enough to win now. They also have one eye in the future. They're doing both at the same time. That does not work. So I think they'll regress. The Lions are an intriguing team to me. Now, if we have time, I apologize for the late start. But I was going to do a segment of a few teams I think they're going to be risers this year that we're not really talking about, and 2 teams that are going to be fallers. Well, the Packers are going to be on that fall list. Going from 13-3, I think they'll regress. The Lions are on my list of risers. They're intriguing. 3-12-1 last year. If Matthew Stafford, now this is a big if he can stay healthy, I think the Lions can be competitive this year. I'm not saying playoff team. I think they'll miss out, but I think they could be a fringe playoff team. They could be a team in the mix at least, where they are the first or second team out as we get to November and get to December. Again, assuming the health, which is a big assumption, but assuming the health of Matthew Stafford. Because I like the team. I think they're talented. They have a talented roster. Now, do I trust Matt Patricia? I don't. But I think the offense is good enough to win them some games. So they'll be intriguing, but not good enough to win the division. And flat out, the Bears are going to stink. To me, the Bears are finishing last in this division. Mitchell Trubisky, Nick Foles, doesn't matter. Neither one's going to work. Both are going to start. Over under, I'm saying week 5. Nick Foles will be in. I would take that bet right at week 5. So Trubisky will start. We'll see how long his leash is. I don't think either quarterback is going to be the savior here. To me, the Bears are going to stink, and I think they'll finish last. So that's why the Minnesota Vikings take the NFC North. The South is interesting. The South is really intriguing. These next 2 divisions, the NFC South, the NFC West, 2 of the best divisions and 2 of the deepest divisions in all the NFL. Right, we'll start with the South. A lot of sexiness, a lot of attention on Tampa Bay. You had Tom Brady. You had Rob Gronkowski. You recently signed Leonard Fournette. You had him with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Bruce Arians is the head coach, wants to air it out. It's fun. They're a fun, intriguing team. But to me, the Saints are just too good. And they have, talk about truly one of the best rosters in all the NFL. And then they get better by adding Emmanuel Sanders. They get better by improving their backup quarterback position by signing Jameis Winston. You get better by getting rid of Eli Apple or not having him play this year. And you draft Cesar Ruiz to the offensive line. So a lot of additions in places of depth where we saw Drew Brees get hurt last year. Jameis Winston stepping up. I think you have confidence that he can play good enough in a 2, 3, 4, 5 game stretch to keep the ship going, similar to what Teddy Bridgewater did last year. Speaking of continuity, right? We talked about continuity. I think it's going to be a major factor this year for team success. Teams that stick together, that return a lot of their core, I think are really built to have some success this year. And who has more continuity and familiarity than the New Orleans Saints on offense? Drew Brees, Sean Payton, their offensive coordinator, Pete Carmichael, all been together since 2006. 14 years they've worked together. I'd say that's pretty good continuity. I would say that's pretty good familiarity. That you have rolling into a year with limited offseason, no preseason games. That's pretty good. When everyone's on the same page, everyone really knows what to expect. So the Saints will be another top offense this year. I think they'll be right in the mix for the Super Bowl hunt. So they're taking the NFC South this year. And finally, the NFC West, the best division in football. 49ers go to the Super Bowl last year. Yeah, the Seahawks come close to winning the division last year. The Rams, with Sean McVay, are still a very intriguing team. And the Cardinals, upstart, spunky bunch, feisty last year. Could they take a step? I think they will take another step. So you're the best division of football. Who's going to come out? I'm going with Seattle. And you go back to last year, Week 17, at home against the 49ers. They were literally, this is not hyperbole or exaggeration, because I went back and watched the end of the game yesterday. They were literally an inch from beating the 49ers and winning the NFC West last year. Having that number 1 seed in the playoffs, having that first round bye, and having the playoffs in the NFC go through Seattle. They come up literally an inch short with just seconds left on the clock. San Francisco ekes it out. They get home field advantage. They get the number 1 seed. They go to the Super Bowl. So you take that. You take out how close these two teams were. Remember, you had Seattle go to San Francisco on a Thursday night and win earlier in the year. So you have these two teams really neck and neck in the NFC West. Yet the Seahawks get better. You get Jamal Adams in a trade. the 49ers get worse. They trade DeForest Buckner, their best defensive lineman. Currently, I think Nick Bosa will take that mantle and really show to be one of the best defensive linemen in all of the game. But currently, right now, you lose DeForest Buckner on the inside. You lose Emmanuel Sanders. So the 49ers got weaker. The Seahawks got better. They got stronger. I think, especially, too, with another year of DK Metcalf, year number 2, him and Tyler Lockett are a great wide receiver duo. You add Greg Olsen as a tight end, which is something that really Seattle's not had. Russell Wilson has really had a reliable target at tight end, which I really like with Greg Olsen. He's a great security blanket. He'll fit in fine. So I'm going to the Seahawks. I'm rolling with Seattle. I'm really buying in that this could be the team. And to me, I'll tell you this in a little bit, they are the team to beat in the NFC. They are the team to beat in the NFC. So the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, and the Cowboys out of the NFC, 3 wild cards. We're going with the Bucs. I'm buying into the hype. I like the Buccaneers. I think they'll, despite Brady going into a new team, having some really new faces on the offense, I think they'll be good. And I think they'll definitely get a wild card berth. The offense is still really talented. I'm still buying into Tom Brady being good. I like his arm. I'm really not buying into the concerns last year again. Said it time and time again. I blame more the offensive injuries, lack of being on the same page last year for New England struggles more than Tom Brady, his arm strength decreasing or his overall play decreasing. So the offense will be good, a lot better than they were last year. More important, the defense will be a lot better because Tom Brady's not going to be throwing 30 interceptions. Part of the reason why the defense was so bad with the pass was because Jameis Winston was putting them in impossible situations. Picks in his own end. Turning the ball over and giving another team short field. So you put the defense in a bad spot. So the Buccaneers, to me, I'm buying into the hype. Not to win the division, but definitely to be a playoff team. 49ers, similar to the Ravens. I love their rushing attack. Kyle Shanahan's a mad genius. And I don't think anyone's figuring them out anytime soon. They will continue to scheme up ways to get their running backs in open field, make it tough for defense coordinators to slow them down. I think that's going to continue. Defense will take a step back just because I think it's almost impossible to be as dominant as they were last year. But they'll still be good enough. 49ers will get in. And I'm doing it. I'm buying into the Cardinals. I'm buying in on their high ceiling. I love the offense of Larry Fitzgerald, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Kenyon Drake. All great weapons for Kyler Murray. The offensive line is improving, and they were top 10 last year. For how bad this offensive line was, they were top 10 in pass protection last year. They'll get better. Give Kyler Murray some more time. And they're actually a pretty good run defense. They're the 6th best run defense in all of the NFL last year, which is perfect considering you look at the Seahawks, the Rams, and the 49ers. They all try to establish the run first. They all predicate their offense based on establishing the run and punching in the mouth. The Cardinals can withstand those punches. So they're built well for the division that they're in. So you look at the other teams around the NFC. The Eagles, I think, have more talent and are more experienced than the Cardinals. But to be honest, I don't trust them to stay healthy. They already, without any preseason games and a very truncated training camp, already have injuries. So this is a team that can't stay healthy the last few years, already can't stay healthy this year. And there's really no one else in the NFC that I look at that is really going to be competition. So I think it's going to come down to the Cardinals and Eagles for that last spot. I'm buying it. I'm giving it to the Cardinals. So Cardinals, 49ers, and Buccaneers are the NFC wildcard teams. So we'll do it as we wrap up here for these predictions for the NFL. Super Bowl prediction. Taking the Chiefs, shocker, out of the AFC. I'm buying them, taking the Seahawks out of the NFC. Chiefs, Seahawks, Super Bowl. I'm sorry to go chalk. I'm sorry I can't predict something that's crazy or out there or, I'm telling you what I think. It's going to be chalk. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs to go back-to-back Super Bowl champions. First time since the Patriots back in, what was that, 03, 04, 02, 03? I'm buying in. To me, they're too good. I don't see Patrick Mahomes taking a step back. I don't see defenses all of a sudden turning it around to slow the Chiefs down. So Chiefs, Seahawks, Super Bowl, I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs back-to-back Super Bowl champions.